Hello, fellow electricians, apprentices, and all assorted paraphernalia. Caleb here, the electrician. This is a lesson on switches, standard sort of switches. These are two three-way switches, and here is a standard everyday switch. Now, in the code book, it tells us that switches are in Article 404. The code book is not an installation manual. It won't tell you how to install them, but it'll tell you the best way to have them wired up so you don't have any problems. So standard everyday sort of switch is right here. This switch is your basic on-off. That's all it does. It's either on or it's off. It doesn't make any difference which way you wire it. You could put your hot wire on the top, on the bottom, switch leg the other way around, who cares? You got your ground right there. It's either on, which means power will go through, or it's off, which means power is, the circuit is now open, so that means there's no power going through. If the circuit is on, that means it's closed, so the power is routing through. Doesn't matter which way it goes, who cares? It's a standard everyday sort of switch. Now, a three-way switch is a little bit different. A three-way switch has extra screws on it. Now, this one, well, let me just explain what each screw does. So on this three-way switch right here, notice that it does not say on or off on either side. It's just blank. But if you look at this switch here, it says on and it says off. Now, if you get this upside down, it tells you right away that it's wrong because it says no, see? So if you look at a switch and it says no, that means it doesn't want to be installed this way. Flip it over that way. That way it'll say on, which is what you want. Now, on a three-way switch, like I said, you don't have on or off because a three-way switch is actually never on or never off. It always has power going through one of these two screws on the side. So the black screw is called the common screw. Now, in our little diagram we've got here, you got hot coming in the top. So a common screw will always be attached to either the hot, if the power is coming into the box from that direction, or it'll be attached to the the switch leg. It'll be attached to the switch leg on this side. So the common screw always takes either the switch leg or it takes the hot coming in. Doesn't matter which way, because internally the switch operates where if you got power coming into the common and it's flipped, say, down like this, then the power will be coming out of that traveler screw. If you got the switch flipped up like this, the power will be going out that traveler screw. And so you always have power going in, so that screw is always hot all the time because it's got the constant on it. But if you flip it one way or the other, it jumps power to that screw or that screw, which are the travelers. So in our box up here, that would be these two wires. They carry the power across to this side, where when you get to this switch, now you got power coming in either here or here, and the switch leg is on that common screw. So the constant hot is on this one, that is always hot. The switch leg is on this common because now the power is coming from this direction, so if you flip it that way, it'll route it out through this screw to the light, or if you flip it this way, it'll route it out from this screw to your switch leg to the light. So that's how three-way switches work. They're never really off. They always have power on them. So when you're troubleshooting, the first thing you need to do is determine if your system's not working right and you know that it's a three-way switch, then pull it out and say, oh, okay, this is the constant hot because it doesn't matter what I do with the switch, that always stays hot. And this one is jumping around weird in different directions. So if you get these backwards, then what'll happen is you'll flip that switch and this switch may seem to be working on or off because it's routing power through, but if you flip that one and you kill power over here, then when you get to this one, you flip it up and down and nothing's happening. And so that's a really quick way to determine if it's wired correctly or not. You go to people's houses sometimes and they say, this three-way switch, it doesn't work. And automatically you know, well, that's because they got a traveler and either the switch leg is backwards or the constant hot is backwards. And so if you flip that one, then you've killed power going to this switch, and then you're never going to get your light to come on. But if you flip this one and come over here to this switch, and that one is routing power through, then this one's turning the light on and off as normal. And so that's where you end up with this sort of weird confusion, and people don't get that. So that's how standard switches work. A regular old boring switch like that, it just on off, nobody cares. This one, you have to wire it in exactly the right way, otherwise it won't work. And again, Article 404 is switches.